was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Amazon Answers. I'm Jared, and today, oh boy, this is going to get controversial. Today's topic of conversation is, hey, what's up, Cameron? Is answering questions about the SnyderVerse Wonder Woman. So if there are any questions that you guys ever had about certain creative choices Zach and or Patty made, what's true or what's not true about what was going to occur with the SnyderVerse Wonder Woman, whatever questions you have, drop them in the chat and I will get to them. So let's do this. Any questions about why, about the Kryptonian thing, about using the Zeus origin, about anything you guys think would be important? Well, my first one is, would you be all for... No, okay, I'm glad you asked that, Cameron. I'm going to clarify something. The Amazons were not descendants of Kryptonians. Hey, what's up, NJ? The Amazons were never going to be Kryptonians, because that's assuming that all of the Amazons were descendants of Zeus and or Ares. Because if you go by that one statement that Zach made for a rejected idea, and by rejected, it was an idea that they thought about but didn't use, it would just be like Diana, which still it's not. See, here's the thing. Because here's what that was. It was like when Britt and I are writing our ShelterVerse stories, and we're essentially going, okay, so what if we did this? What if we did this? And then we reject the idea because we're like, okay, it's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily align with what we want for the character. So we're like, okay, done. No harm, no foul. That's what that was. And what's up, Damie Ray? I'm pretty good, brother. How about you? But yeah, so that's kind of what that is. Because here's the problem with the SnyderVerse discourse. He gets heat for ideas that were not in the movies, i.e. not canon. It was just ideas that he thought about going, okay, this would be kind of cool, but I can't do that because that's not the character. See? That's essentially what that is. It's not like he wanted to do it and was like so hard pressed on that. No, absolutely not. What other questions do you guys have about SnyderVerse Wonder Woman, or just Wonder Woman in any of the SnyderVerse movies? It can be anything about these films that you wanted a clarification on. Something that you think, he also wasn't a fan of Wonder Bites. Okay, yeah, because what he said is, this is one of the shortest videos I've done. It's just because at the Full Circle event where you could watch the movies with him and ask questions, he said, okay, with Wonder Bat, I mean, I like it, but ultimately when you actually do the math on it, it's not going to work. And he said that generally it's not going to work. He was just having Bruce being flirty, and that's what Bruce does. So it didn't really bother me as long as he knew, yeah, it's not going to happen. And the people trying to do mental gymnastics about that, I'm like, guys, would we have gotten Super Wonder, and how would it have been perceived by general audience? I don't think we would have gotten Super Wonder, because it was still Lois dying leads him, makes him susceptible to the anti-life equation. I'm saying, well, if we did get that, I think the general audience would be more supportive of that, because here's what I'm rapidly learning. Most of the general audience think Superman and Wonder Woman have been a thing for ever. That's what Britt and I have encountered many times throughout our research. And it's, despite what anyone will tell you, the general audience is not the biggest fans of Lois. So there is that. But yeah, so it's kind of funny. This Q&A is actually one of the full circle moments, pun intended, for me, because the SnyderVerse is what led to the creation of my channel. So this is actually really cool that I'm getting to do this. But so what other questions do you guys have? Are there any plot points that you want clarification on? Any creative choices that maybe you don't support but want to get another perspective on? That's what I'm here for. Because my objective is not, I could care less if you actually like these movies, just as long as you approach them with all of the information available and what it was and what the original intention was, because that's what I think is really important for people to understand, because people take certain clips of Zack out of context and then treat it like, oh, he never liked superhero comics, he thought this was lame, he didn't like this. But I'm like, yeah, but if you actually pay attention to what he says, that's not true. But with Jared, he wants Superman. Yeah, exactly. No, he didn't. He really didn't. And again, that was a rejected. That was an idea that, yeah, he maybe was going to go for in the original plan, but he but he didn't want to do that. That's it. But what else you guys got? You make it a tough one. Give me like a really tough question. I actually like that. Yeah, I mean, when you hear Zack explain it was the idea that like a soldier dies, his wife moves on, and then it's like, oh, which I'm like, that's not really that bad of an idea. It's not my favorite, but it's not like an idea that I necessarily like love, but it's an idea I don't have necessarily that like negative feelings for, and that's kind of it. Because again, if the way my mind works with media I enjoy is that if I know the creative reasoning behind it, I'm like, it makes it easier to stomach for me. If that's just me. If that's not you, that's fine. But it's like a lot of ideas. Like when I had Sam on and he explained like the first half of The Killing Joke, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I don't necessarily dig it, but I don't have that much of a negative reaction for it. What else you guys got for questions concerning SnyderVerse Wonder Woman? Anything concerning Gal Gadot's portrayal, what comics they were inspired by, whatever questions you guys would like answered, or what you want clarification on. NJ says, I didn't like Lois was the key to Cal's downfall, made him vulnerable to anti-life equation when full-blown injustice. It created the belief that he will go. That was mainly injustice, but I do understand that that like criticism, NJ. It's like, yeah, but again, it's not, because here's the thing. Here's why I prefer this as opposed to Injustice. With Injustice, they make it like like regular minded Superman turns evil because Lois dies. At least with this, they have an outside force acting on him, so that's that has a little bit more of separation. So that's kind of why I supported that over Injustice, because Injustice is straight up trash. And that's why I seem to be the only one that doesn't want an Injustice 3 game, because of how much damage it did to Superman and Wonder Woman as characters. Like, I'm sorry. We can talk about, but we like the fighting game. Yeah, that's fine. Don't do a story mode then. That's it, because the story mode is horrible and has hurt the reputation of the characters. So what else you guys got? I got all day. What else you guys got? There's plenty of ground to cover because these movies are very complicated, and that's part of the fun. That's definitely part of the fun. So tell me, what other like cues do you guys have? Because again, it's like the problem. See, and here's the thing: the internet has devolved to the point where where it's tough to even praise these movies, because if you give any amount of praise, even if you're not like addressing the gun movies at all, people will tell you to move on. And I go, okay, I said I'm going to go watch the movie, but I still enjoy the Zack Snyder movies, and that's not going to change. That's it. I'm sorry. That's it. You trying to say I can't enjoy the Snyder movies, like I have to move on from them in order to do this. No, I'm sorry. That's not the way fandom works. So that's mainly my like pet peeve with the conversation is that fans aren't allowed to like what they like. That's it. And I'm like, sorry, that is ridiculously, like, for lack of a better term, that's problematic. I'm just going to tell you that right there. Jared, a little birdie for you. David is going to post a Batfleck picture, a new one for the dual event August. Oh, dope. I can't wait. That's going to be really cool. I wish they would do that. Mon podcast is better than Lois Lane. Thank you, NJ. Now you're doing it. They are the ones who made it. Yes, exactly. That's the problem with Injustice, because here's the thing. Because it's like that telling me that his entire psyche is based upon the safety of Lois ignores the fact that he was raised human. And what's up, Britt? I'm going to play Britt's intro since she's in the chat.
He's back.
And Britt says, it's funny how there's an argument right now on the Bird Up about general audience knowing Superman. Yeah, I saw you actually posted that on the chat. But I'm like, it's true, though. It's like most of the people I talk about either prefer Super Wonder over Lois or are already think they are together. So I'm like, it's probably what it is like they saw like the big announcement that DC did back in 2011 and then didn't follow up on it, on whether or not it lasted. But the thing is, it's like too many Clois fans and too many like Superman fans in general assume that the general audience like thinks like them and only thinks in terms of the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, which I'm sorry, that's objectively not true. Like, by the way, I didn't have to say anything to make my mom hate Lois. All I had to do was show her like Superman and Lois and Clark, and then I also showed her the trailer for Superman, and even she's like, "Yeah, Lois is a bee." Jared, what's the purple crown mean? Oh, on YouTube they have this thing where like contributors can like have a if you contribute enough, it's like a leaderboard thing to encourage people to participate more. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Superman fans have always want to stay stagnant because I don't want them to be challenged. Yeah, because what that is, again, Cameron, here's what that is. Because a lot of the Superman fans, the vocal ones, are older people that don't want to admit that they're old, so they're hanging on to whatever made them feel young back in the day. And that is like the way Superman was in post-crisis, which, by the way, post-crisis Superman was an a-hole. So anyone trying to tell you who's all puppies and rainbows is objectively lying. Can I watch a review of your collection of comics today? Oh, you mean an outline of my comics? Yeah, I did a few of those in the past, but I can do an updated one. Yeah, absolutely, TMO. I'll definitely do that. Definitely do that on the YouTube channel. Absolutely. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, guys, can we please like it's this is what annoys me with the crowd that's like respect the past but embrace the future, because these are the same people that complained that Cavill was not like Christopher Reeve to the point where they wanted Cavill where they wanted Zack to deep fake Christopher Reeve's face on Henry Cavill. So I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Me and the homies watched Man of Steel and BVS last night, Jerry and BVS. They already hinted at Superman having nightmare about Zod, which was, well, yes, exactly. And I love what Christopher McQuarrie talked about with that. What was Diana like in the Golden Age that you think can be modernized? Well, the more like a lot of the Golden Age was modernized, actually the new 52, but it's more of the promotion of equality and the more like, because a lot of these characters were like very pugnacious in the Golden Age, and they need to bring that back. Now, Diana's still like an ambassador for peace, but the thing is, people take that and say that she never engages in a fight or kills people, and I go, no, that's not true. And even like David Goyer on a podcast talking about like the Zod killing scene, what he said is that he wanted to have a scene where Pa Kent took Clark hunting, and what happened was what happened was, let's see, what was it? What happened was, it's like Clark takes a shot, injures a deer, but doesn't kill it, and he's shaken. And it's supposed to be like the father teaching his son the importance of a life, and that would have been paid off when he kills Zod, essentially. So that's kind of what that was back in the day. Which I always felt that was I never really needed a explanation of that, because it's like that's what that scene is supposed. It's like when people complain about Superman killing Zod, they forget about, guess what, guys? He killed Zod in Superman 2, and you all cheered. You all cheered. I'm like, guys, come on. That's where I start to think, because that's why I tweeted that some Superman fans have an unhealthy obsession with Christopher Reeves, because they constantly want Christopher Reeve to be the Superman, to always be Christopher Reeves and never grow. And even Reeves wanted to grow eventually. So, yeah, young Clark in Podcast Hunting, was Goyer inspired by Dexter when writing Man of Steel? Maybe, probably. But that's it. Would have the entire movie could have been to explain why Clark has sort of a no-kill rule, or he's not. Because here's the thing: Superman doesn't have a no-kill rule. What it is, he's not gonna go. That's not gonna be like his first option. But it's not going to be off the table, if that makes sense. And Diana's the same way. But back to SnyderVerse Diana, the thing about this version of Wonder Woman that I think was really cool is the idea that they really weighed in on. Wait, so real quick, I think people go so far with the Boy Scout, and I go, like, Boy Scouts can kill. Steve is a Boy Scout, and he definitely kills. This man was an award. No way he wasn't. Wasn't a fan of Diana being a simp for Steve. In the first one of the movie, I liked how the relationship developed, but after his death, yeah, exactly. Because what that was is because it's kind of funny, NJ. That was because Patty Jenkins, again, used Steve as a self-insertion because her father was a pilot. Because reportedly she was going to have Chris Pine come back in Wonder Woman 3 again. So it's like, to a degree, I get it. Now here's what people have to understand about Wonder Woman 1. Part of why people like it, I got news for you. That was with Zack's influence. When you take away the Zack Snyder part, guess what that leads to? Wonder Woman 1984, where she's constantly obsessed with a man and stuff. That's what that leads to. Because I noticed, and I got some heat back in the day about saying that, like, that's partly why Wonder Woman 1984 failed, because they completely stripped away the Zack Snyder part of it, because people like the No Man's Land scene and the fighting and stuff. And that was all Zack. In terms of when you go full Patty Jenkins, look what that leads to. 1984. And yes, Pikachu, people do have to learn the difference between killing and murder, because they're not two different things. Like, absolutely not. But again, it's like DC also simplifies it to make people not hold their feet to the fire when it comes to this. And that's, again, part of why part of why DC can sometimes get stagnant. But that's why, with me, the Snyderverse movies are Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, and I'll swap it in when we get to the Ayer cut. Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Aquaman. And I hesitate to say Flash because that canonizes the SJL, but still, the point is, those 5 movies up to Aquaman, Shazam you can keep. Up to Aquaman, that's Snyderverse. The problem is, Jared, also Gal as an actor, she isn't the worst. You've seen people she isn't great. Wonder Woman, she wasn't the act. She was. I think she was better than people give her credit for. That's what I think of it is. That's what I think. So, what else you guys think? What other questions about Snyderverse one? Because Gal is a better actor than people give her credit for. I'm gonna say that right there. Not commenting on her political opinions. So before anyone says that, I'm not. This is just about her as Wonder Woman. That's it. What else do you guys think about SnyderVerse Wonder Woman? I'm not pulling up a YouTube stream right now, Somar. I'm not. But what other Snyderverse questions do you guys think would have been there? Should Diana have been yes? That see. Okay, let's talk about that. Because guess what? I think that Black Adam would have made $1 billion if it had been Black Adam versus Superman and not the JSA. You kidding me? Black Adam versus Henry Cavill Superman, and he's what Amanda Waller sends in to fight Black Adam. That would have sold tickets. And then you're in a movie called Fury of the Gods, you leave out Wonder Woman. Having seen Gal and Snow White, I think Zach was the only one who knew how to properly get a performance in uniform from her. Yeah, exactly. If we asked, my sister dragged me into watching it. All right, Pika. All right, Pika. I see how that goes. I accept that because trust me, my mom and sister have dragged me to really horrible movies anyway. But yeah, Diana should have been a major player in a movie that literally involves the gods so deeply instead of a cameo. That's the problem with Warner Brothers. Is because at the time they treated it too much like they treated their major characters like the cameos and not like and emphasize the characters that should have been cameos. If that makes sense. Like Blue Beetle should not have gotten his own movie or project. I'm just gonna tell you that. What you like about Man of Steel? Oh, I do like Man of Steel very much. So, by the way, I'm just gonna say that right there. No, I know she was technically in that, but like a major player, not like a cameo. That's the thing, because she should have been involved when the gods and like monster and when creatures of myth and legend show up. Yeah, you even have the kids go, who do we call? And Billy says, I know someone. Then we switched it to Paris as Diana's theme plays and she's teaching a lecture. Yeah, that would have been dope. Or like that, not even teaching. Well, yeah, you could have done her as a teacher in this. Yeah, you could have done that. But again, I'm just like, guys, I visited your YouTube channel for the first time. I realized your main topic is Wonder. I wonder why you chose her, the most popular. And it's because so a lot of my main topic is Wonder Woman and Superman and Wonder Woman because that's like because essentially she is under discussed in the DC fandom. And you see, here's the thing. The DC fan base wants more discussions about Wonder Woman and for people to like have a resource where they can detail at least here's based on evidence what Wonder Woman is and how to do her justice as a character. And guess what? So far, DC hasn't done anything to give her the attention she deserves. So Britt and I were like, yeah, we'll do it. We will give her the emphasis that she deserves as such a great character. Pikachu says, I agree. Blue Beetle was introduced as Jaime in Infinite Crisis as part of a larger group. Yeah, exactly. That's the way you do it. You don't start with him as a solo series. What? WB knew what they were doing. Yeah, they didn't know. As you know, it's since we're talking about WB.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. When people say that, I normally say, okay, guys, then you need to pick a better Superman villain, because if you pick like Parasite, he can't punch Parasite because the minute you touch Parasite in any way, he drains your powers. You have to give him more threats that require more of a cerebral approach. NJ says, I didn't like that she killed all those already defeated terrorists at the bank. They weren't already defeated. They were still shooting guns at her, so she beat them. And it's like they're terrorists that were blowing up a bank. They were going to blow up a building, so Diana had to go fast. And it's like, what do you want her to do? She's fighting terrorists and people's lives are in danger. It's like, that's realistically what these characters would happen. That's it. That's really it. I see on a surface level what that is, the critique of what that is, NJ. So it's not about you. It's that a lot of people oversimplify that scene because she's protecting civilians. There's gunfire going everywhere. So it's like Diana. Also, this whole myth that Diana doesn't kill people is just that, a myth. She kills people in the comics all the time. Is there a possibility you can at least write a little bit about Wonder Woman or do blogs in your country? Have the opportunity. I can do that. Like I can do my own blog for sure. And we've thought of doing that to get more information out there about that. So I think that'll be really fun. I'm definitely working on getting that up and running on the Comics League website. I don't like it that some fans want to keep Clark and Diana relatable. No, can we stop with that? Yeah, exactly. Because what you see with that is like those are more Marvel fans, because Marvel characters are designed to be relatable. They're designed to be like everyday Joes, which is why there's very few of them that have God level powers. DC are designed and intended to be the gods amongst men. Hence, where you have like the Watchtower is Olympus and such. Yes, we do have a website where we have an archive of all my content. I'll put the link in the chat right now. It has to be updated with like photos and the co-host lineup, but yeah, it's essentially that. So they go, there's the link to the Comics League website, and you have like all of my podcasts are on there, all the past content that I have made. There's like a lot of stuff in there. And yeah, again, I'm gonna update the site with more accurate photos soon, like maybe a page about all the interviews that I have had, all the people I've had on the show. So there's a lot more like stuff coming down, and then when I do the blog, that's where it will be for sure. But yeah, so what other questions do you guys have about SnyderVerse, Wonder Woman, and all of that? Superman ain't popular in the 21st century because poor movies and video games like Star Wars these days, because crap movies and TV. No, he's popular. He's definitely popular. It's just people have this very simplistic view on Superman, and that hurts the movies. Like Man of Steel was popular. Man of Steel made people Superman fans, myself included. It's just then it gets undercut. So yeah, but DC fans, yeah, it's modern day mythology. That's why I tell people that all the time. It's like they're not supposed to be Marvel characters. Like, I'm sorry, no. That's like these are not supposed to be Marvel characters. They're supposed to be their own thing. Because honestly, if you want them to act like Marvel characters, then just read the Squadron Supreme. That's what that is. That's Marvel's version of the Justice League, like to a T. They even have a Wonder Woman called Power Princess. Landis managed, I think, the short film, of course, right in American, which is controversial but good. Yeah, that's a good comic. I enjoy parts of it as like a Superman origin. A lot of his like Kryptonian epic content that I see a lot, because I've watched a lot of his Kryptonian epic stuff, and I'm like, I don't agree with your creative take on Wonder Woman. I gotta be honest, but it's some interesting stuff to say the least. Yep, I'm just saying. Do people who say that he's too powerful don't know how to explain? Yeah, exactly. What do you think would have been the third movie had Wonder Woman 1984 not failed? Well, it would have taken place in the modern day, and I mean, according to Britt, and Britt, if you're still if you're in the chat, you can weigh in on this. But I think Patty wanted Superman to cameo, and that we would have actually gotten Superman and Wonder Woman in the Snyderverse like interacting and such. That would have been cool. I grew up with Smallville, which helped me better become a Superman fan. Man, still reinforced how I stuck in staying. Yeah, exactly. Because for me, I was of the opinion that Superman was lame for like the longest time. I was more of a Batman guy. But when I saw Man of Steel, because here's what Zack did with every character: Wonder Woman, Superman, what have you. He breaks them down to their fundamental core so you understand who they are. Then, unlike Tom King, he builds them up, because that's what these deconstructive writers are forgetting. They don't build them back up because they're too lazy, and decide, okay, I don't have to build them back up. I'm just going to break them down. That's not how that works, bro. That's not even what Alan Moore did. Okay, this I really, really didn't like. Up in to the Snyder Cut, her power level was well written. And I mean, she was on par with Cal, killing an old god Ares, going 1v1 with Doomsday. Ooh, with a laugh, but struggled. It would have been Cavill for sure if they got their crap together with his contract. It would have been Keaton. Yeah, exactly. Wait, so what do you mean? Okay, so this is up to ZSJL. Her power. Okay, with Steppenwolf, yeah, Supes easily beat him. It's mainly to show that like the Justice League need to be united to fight a threat, because it's like it's because it wasn't just Superman showing up, because if you know, she got her hit in as well as Aquaman, because they were bouncing him back and forth. It was mainly to show that the league has to be united in order to combat this threat, because because the marketing for Justice League, which I felt was really effective, was you can't save the world alone. Like Wonder Woman can't do it alone, Superman can't save the world alone, Batman can't save the world alone. So that's kind of where I thought about why I think Superman was lame. Again, because I thought he was too powerful. It's like he's like basically a plot device and stuff. Same opinion that like a lot of people had until I actually did the research. Why are the directors of actual Lord Dude making a joke and a miscast out for the second time? I don't know. Because that is because Gunn puts his brother in literally every project that he does, and I'm sorry, that's nepotism. When it comes to Diana and Barbara, would you have them know each other in civilian days like 1984? Let them have a relationship until she gets the cheetah curse. Either way is fine. I'm fine with the way they did it in that movie. By the way, I know there are Twitter accounts trying to tell you that the original plan was to have Diana and Cheetah fall in love. That was never part of the plan of Wonder Woman 1984. Anyone telling you that doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because I've seen that go across Twitter a lot, and that is objectively not true. Yeah, to a degree, because that leads to creative stories, Somar, because someone has to decide, okay, wait a minute. If he is powerful, what threats can I give him? How about in Batman versus Superman, where his threats are the media? How's that? That would be really cool, because Superman can't punch the media. It's more of like a psychological like battle for Superman. And that's why I really dig Batman versus Superman. So what other questions do you guys have about SnyderVerse Wonder Woman, or anything that you guys want clarification on, or anything that can help clarify? Can't be anything about these movies, about the Wonder Woman movies. Do you think did you like Gal Gadot right away? No, I didn't, because here's why. I was like, the Fast and the Furious girl? Really? Because what Zack does with his casting is he casts like relatively no-name actors. Because at the time, like when he was cast in Man of Steel, Cavill was not a mainstay actor. Neither was Ray. The only mainstay actor for the Justice League was Ben. That's it. He was the only like really well-known actor at the time. So I didn't really get it. The part that sold me was when she turned to Bruce in Batman versus Superman and goes, I don't think you've ever known a woman like me. And she had that smile. I go, oh, that is Diana right there. That is Diana. And when she gets knocked back by Doomsday and she's just smiling, like she's actually like enjoying it. And from what Gal said, that was her idea. It wasn't in the script. It was like her improv, because she figured that like Diana would like enjoy herself in a battle against a worthy opponent. So I'm like, yes, I like that. That's good. It says it ain't about threat. It's about being flashy and having a good time seeing him beat up enemies. No, that too. But to get people on board, you have to have like maybe it helps sell it to people when you have like other threats and stuff that can actually stand up to Superman. That's why Darkseid keeps getting used. Doing watching Man of Steel, then BVS right after Ben is running right after that. Yeah, that is really cool. So I do have this. I showed this on Super Wonder, but I wanted to show this off since we're talking about Gal Gadot. By the way, Pika says, I almost literally broke my knee when I saw Affleck in costume for the first time because my knee was broken at the time. Oh, okay. Is it time that they wrote a petition to Obama personally because he's a comic book fan when they approve Ben Affleck as Batman? Is it true that they wrote a petition to Obama personally because he's a comic book fan when they... I've never heard of that. Power scaling and Superman fans saying that he could have easily done it all. No. That and guess what? That's stupid because they weren't paying attention to the marketing. Because guess what? It's you can't save the world alone. And even Superman got blown up in the Snyder cut, and then Flash had to run back in time and save everyone. So not one of those heroes could have solved it on their own. So it's like they even needed Cyborg to influence with the mother boxes. So that's what people forget about that marketing there. Jared shows Snyder related merch. I will. It's 1 second. By the way, Darkseid Super. He started off as a Superman villain, but he's become a more of a Justice villain. So I have this. So I have this copy of Wonder Woman 800 that I got CGC graded at a 9.6, but this one's special because it's signed by Gal Gadot. Like, so I finally got this back in the mail. So I figured that's like something that I should show off here. And then in terms of merch, I obviously have, of course, you know me, I'm the Hot Toys guy. It's I have the Batman versus Superman, Wonder Woman. Timo says, I take it you're sad the SnyderVerse will never continue. We said it'll never continue. There's comics. There's literally comics. Zack doesn't know Diana's speed of Hermes. She shouldn't have been frozen in time. Flashes okay, and yet he easily kept up with him. Wonder Woman should have moved. Wonder Woman can't do everything though. She and Arthur were distracting Steppenwolf in a battle. That's kind of what that was. See, what you have to get is that everyone in that like battle, in that scene, had their jobs that they had to do. He does know Diana has the speed of Hermes because of how fast she was, even in the bank scene. So we've seen Diana be ridiculously fast in the SnyderVerse. Let's just remember that, because if this were a Wonder Woman movie and other people were saving it, yeah, okay, that's fine. But it's a Justice League movie. Everyone got equal. This is the thing about the Snyder Cut that I love. Everyone got their one moment to be the hero. Like Wonder Woman got many moments. Like when she's fighting Steppenwolf and Steppenwolf goes, "This one's mine," and then Wonder Woman goes, "I belong to no one." But that's what I'm gonna say. And again, Timo, they could continue with the comics, which Zach ran into Jim Lee recently, so I'm like, something could be going on with that, and that would be really fun, and I would so support that. And there's also animation or even live action if they want to do the multiverse. So here's another SnyderVerse item I have. This is a Polystone Batman versus Superman Nightmare Batman from Zack Snyder's Justice League. I have the two Funko Pops for Superman and Wonder Woman. I have Darkseid and Steppenwolf. I have the statue for Black Suit Superman. I need to get the one for Wonder Woman. I got the Batman, the Justice League Batmobile model with the artillery cannon on there. What else do I have? I have the Hot Toys Nightmare Batman. Hot Toys Cyborg. Right there. Yes, I put the 4. Wait. Yeah, I know, Damien. Yes, they had Steppenwolf and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Who would have thought? Yeah. Black Suit Superman. Wait, they have a Funko? I don't know if they made a ZSJL one. And then, okay. And then, wait, Cameron says, I've been thinking about this, but why are Clovis fans so against eugenics? Like a Super Wonder story offers more interesting stories than John ever did. Well, yeah, because... Oh, no, it's not Steppenwolf. It's Desaad. It's not Steppenwolf. It's sorry, I misspoke there. Yeah, the thing is that they're hypocrites because they were making eugenics arguments the minute that Lois was revealed to be Superwoman. So they are hypocrites. Oh, you want to see the trident in the back? All right. When I first watched the Snyder cut, I laughed for 15 minutes when Ares hit Darkseid on his shoulder, and Darkseid said it hurts me to end the war. Yeah, exactly. Wait, is it true that the Mother Box has amped his powers massively? Was it confirmed by Zack? Maybe that was the reason why Wonder Woman and Flash had. Yes, that's what I took it as, because if you notice when he's like, for lack of a better term, communing with all three boxes when they were one, his eyes all of a sudden started glowing. So that's kind of what I took it as, like he was like powered up a little bit more. But anyway. Ouch. So here is the Aquaman trident. It's made of some wood and stuff. How many times have you seen Justice League? Not since the April Fool's stream we did. The Snyder Cut I've seen 18 times. I plan on doing 19 and then doing a stream for my 20th time. Oh, I also have McFarlane. So I have this McFarlane Darkseid. Right there. I also have this one. I'm really happy I'm finally managed to get. The McFarlane Batman versus Superman Wonder Woman. Let's see what NJ has to say. To me, this is Battle Goon. What's up? To me, Superman empower Lois is the point of her character. I always like Lois as the good that Superman sees in humans, and Steve is that for Diana, giving Steve. Yeah, exactly. Now I may disagree on Lois's role, but I see what you're saying there. Actually, Jerry, I wanted to ask a few weeks ago, the court scene in Batman vs Superman had been going around saying he was too slow, he should have reacted sooner. What are your thoughts after reading the comics? Well, if you read if you watch the movie and watch the extended edition, what it reveals is that it was essentially the wheelchair itself was lined with lead. And as you guys know, Superman can't see through lead. So he didn't know there was a bomb in the chair. So that's also the problem with the theatrical cut, because it does treat Superman like an idiot. So I'm like, why didn't he see that? And then when you see the extended cut, I'm like, why was that taken out of the movie? Like, why? I don't understand that. It's really, really stupid. Let's see. Do you think... I'm just reading this text real quick. Okay, there you go. All right. Do you think Snyder had Lois miscast? No, I liked Amy Adams as Lois. I was fine with that. I don't think Zack had really anyone miscast, because the way Zack handles the casting is that he casted them as their secret identities first, and then he like cast them as their main identity and stuff. Did Snyder ever say what plans he wanted for Diana? Well, she was going to be Queen of the Amazons, because the way that the final plan was going to be... Actually, you know what? How about this? Would you guys like this? I will go over the original whole plan for the DCEU. Would you guys like me to do that? I will go over the full plan, and then we'll talk about that. Just so you guys can have the actual information on what was originally going to happen with the story. All right. Let's see. But it was going to be a beginning, middle, and end, by the way. So the way Zack approached it is he approached it like the way comic book writers approach writing a character, like where they have a beginning, they're supposed to, where they have a beginning, middle, and end, where there was like an ending to it. But anyway, so here was the plan. I'm trying to find a good outline that basically had the entire like story. SnyderVerse story. Okay. Let me do this. All right. So here we go. Okay, here we go. Here's Polygon. Because I went over this in an old episode of Under Two Capes, like in the original days of the channel before you even had a thing. Yes, I do play Lego DC Somar. So anyways, I'm going to share the screen. We're going to read a Polygon article. So here it is. So here's what we're doing. All right. So let me get to where it started. Okay. So you have the nightmare future. So, okay, so I'm trying to find the actual, like... Okay, here we go. The easiest way to understand the story of the trilogy is through what Snyder has teased in The Nightmare. The post-apocalyptic visions that Batman has throughout Batman vs. Superman was entirely absent from the 2017 theatrical version. The visions are back. All right. These nightmare visions show a terrible future where much of humanity is in ruins and Superman is evil. While there was just visions in the films released so far that they would have come true in the latter Justice League movies through the anti-life equation. The anti-life equation is the magical spell used by Darkseid to control the minds of most of the people on Earth. While Superman would normally be resistant to such a thing, Darkseid, according to Snyder's interview-driven storytelling, finds a way around Superman's willpower through his biggest weakness, Lois Lane. Apparently, when Superman went off to fight Darkseid, he tasked Bruce Wayne with protecting her. During that time, Snyder planned to have Lois and Bruce begin a brief love affair, an idea that was apparently rejected by the studio and him. So that's done. Eventually, Darkseid would realize that Lois was the key to Superman's willpower and come to kill her. It was actually Lex Luthor, because what happens is in the future, in Justice League 2, it would have been the Legion of Doom being assembled and taking down the Justice League one by one, because it's basically Lex would have assembled the team, which is made up of Captain Cold, Dr. Poison from Wonder Woman, who extended her life, Black Manta and Ocean Master, and Lex. And he would have taken out each member of the League. And then for Superman, so Lex reactivates a mother box, brings Darkseid to the main to Earth, and basically explains to him, hey, if you want Superman, you should go after Lois Lane. That's the key to breaking his will. So that's what happened. Once Darkseid arrives, Bruce hesitates in a crucial moment, and Lois dies, opening up Superman to the powers of the anti-life equation and ushering in the apocalypse. Darkseid's apocalypse would have looked a lot like the last vision of the Snyder Cut. Batman, Cyborg, Flash, and a ragtag band of heroes and villains would have ventured through the ruined cities, dodging Superman and trying to figure out how to fix the world. Oh, and Joker is there too to help with Joker, to help with it. There you go. While the details are a little bit fuzzy on what happens next, eventually Batman and Cyborg find a way to send Flash back in time to warn Bruce that Darkseid was coming and how to stop them. This scene actually takes place in the Batman vs. Superman. So when you see Flash going, she's the key, that's what this is. By the way, Battlegoon says, to be honest, I did not like SnyderVerse Diana that much. I was frustrated at how they cut out the gods, villains, supporting cast, and made Diana generally weaker than the comics. She wasn't made weaker. She was not made weaker. I'm just going to tell you that right now. At least in the Zack Snyder version, she was not made weaker. Ignoring the Patty Jenkins version, which even the made weaker, that was just in the in Wonder Woman 1984, but beyond that. So, okay. According to the recently revealed storyboards, actually, let me see this real quick with the storyboards. Is that this? What is this? All right, anyway. So, the remaining crew fought the Legion of Doom, while Deathstroke would have been the villain in the Batfleck movie. Yeah, and yes, exactly. Do not take Wonder Woman 1984 as an as a SnyderVerse movie, because there's a reason why I left that out. My SnyderVerse ends after Aquaman. That's it. That's it. No other movies are part of that universe. I'm just gonna tell you, as far as I am concerned. Anyway, after so the thing about this time travel, they would have done something very cool. So they have a window, because you know how I'm going to try and explain this as simply as possible. Do you know how, like, so obviously we all know that the Earth revolves around the sun. So Batman and the Justice League have to send flashback at a very specific point in time, because otherwise he'll materialize where the Earth was, in other words. So as the Earth is materializing, I'll use this Batman as an example. They have to send him back to where the time was aligned in the year, if you will. So he lands on Earth and not in space. Because otherwise, if they send him back too late, it'll be like this. So the world's rotating, and then he comes back in time in outer space. So they actually did a little bit more with the time travel in it anyway. So then essentially, Bruce will eventually realize that he needs to sacrifice himself to save Lois. So that's when they redo the scene. Darkseid comes in to kill Lois, but this time Batman jumps through the glass and takes the Omega Beam blast, Final Crisis style, and saves Lois. So essentially, with Lois saved, Superman never falls to the anti-life equation. He and the rest of the Justice League take the fight to Darkseid. So what happens is, Batman is like dying essentially, but he still suits up to go fight Darkseid, and it's the Justice League versus the entire Parademon army. And at first it's too much for them to handle alone. And yeah, blood of the old gods in you. So then the entire the history lesson battle scene in ZSJL, it's that, but with like the modern like military. So man's world essentially with the world's armies and air forces and navies. The Amazons and the Atlanteans show up to fight. It would have been a big Lord of the Rings style battle, complete with the Green Lantern Corps showing up. Yes, it would have been like Hal Jordan, John Stewart, all the Green Lanterns show up. I think Hal Jordan was supposed to show up in Justice League 2. So in the course of the battle, Batman sacrifices himself, and Damian Ray, yeah, exactly. The Riddler solves the anti-life equation for Darkseid essentially without knowing it, and then he kills himself. So that was an idea that I like that idea. So Batman sacrifices himself to weaken Darkseid. And then Darkseid retreats back to a ship, which is then destroyed by Lex Luthor with a bomb vest essentially. So Lex Luthor saves the world, and then what this leads to is like the Amazons integrating into man's world, the surface world being acknowledged as like a fifth kingdom of Atlantis. There's like a lot of character development there, and then this is really cool. So it's essentially Justice League Unlimited, essentially. And then that's where you get the Flash movie in the SnyderVerse was going to be literal Flashpoint. Like, according to Jay Oliva, literal page to screen, like the Flashpoint paradox, but in a movie form. With Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Flashpoint Batman. I never understood if Lex truly loves or cares about Mercy in general. What's the deal as a whole? Would he let her die in that destruction of the building and planet? I don't know, because they've gone back and forth on the whole Mercy thing as well. So there's no real like yes or no answer for that, NJ. Cameron says Riddler solving the... Yeah, because if there's one character that I think would solve the anti-life equation, it is Riddler. So it's very Final Crisis-y. I wonder how different it would be, Jerry, if Jeff let Ayer use Steppenwolf. Because that was the other thing. Can you send the link to this? So here is the article. Yes, exactly. I'll send that to you. All right, the original 2018 Flash, it was a different Flash movie set after the Justice. So you would have had the original Flash movie, which would have been a buddy cop movie between Barry and Cyborg. But then the last movie of Snyder's DCEU that ends the story, it would have been Flashpoint, where it would be revealed, this is really cool, that the SnyderVerse, like all the stuff that people didn't like Jonathan Kent dying in a tornado per se, and the characters acting a little darker, that's all been the work of Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, to screw with Barry. So in a way, the entire Snyderverse turns into a Flash story. So when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that is dope. Like, it would have been that entire thing would have been a Flash story. And Man of Steel 2 would have been Brainiac. So I want to tell you that right now. According to Zach, the villain of Man of Steel 2 would have been Brainiac. And I like to think it would have been the adaptation of that Superman Unbound movie, or like the Superman Brainiac comic. It would have been that. Which I'm like, can we please get that? And imagine Jason Momoa fighting Gal Gadot. There's like a lot you could go with that. Yeah, Enchantress for bringing the Joker back from the dead has always been my theory on how his tats go away. I think that's what they wanted to do, I think. And for those that don't know, it was an idea of Ayer's that what would have happened is, instead of like the crazy stuff in Suicide Squad, it would have been Enchantress was under the control of a mother box and trying to open the door so Darkseid can invade then, but the Suicide Squad stop her, and that's kind of why everything looks weird. And it would have set up Justice League. I think I saw in an article that part of the plan was Diana would have been returns to Gotham. No. That was a dream, a nightmare that Diana had, a dream. It's not like, because if you see the nightmare vision in ZSJL. It is like it's like Wonder Woman dies. She's like on a burning funeral pyre. Man of Steel 2 would have been after Justice League 1. And what that would have been was, people complain about Henry Cavill Superman not being like Superman. It would have been Superman finally embracing his role as like the superhero that you and I all know him to be. So in other words, it would have been kind of the completion of that arc. Building upon in ZSJL, when John Kent says, "Fly, son, it's time. You need to show the world who you are." That's what that would have led to. But the fans were too impatient. And they're like, no, it has to be this way now. And I go, says who? But yeah, so the last movie after the Justice League movies, Cameron, is the Flashpoint movie. And then that ends with a reset. And then the next person in charge of the DC movies can show up and do whatever they want with that. But that was the overall plan. Cameron says, I actually like the idea that instead of starting out, he grows into it. Why do Superman fans hate that? Because they're impatient. They want it to be like Christopher Reeves, because Reeves kind of shows up and he's Superman right then. And I go, yeah, that works. But you see, you have to let the audience grow into it. That's kind of the way that modern audiences work, because if you show people why Superman is awesome and then let him grow, if you're growing, essentially, here's what it is. We grow with Superman and we eventually learn who he is. That's exactly how it could lead to, like, let's say they had, here's what they should have done. Are you ready? They released the Snyder Cut and then tell Zack, okay, we'll give you the money for like either a mini-series or 2 other Justice League movies to wrap up your story, and end it with a reboot, like Flash going back in time, or like we'll give you a Flashpoint movie, end it, and then it reboots, and then James Gunn comes in and does whatever he wants. Because here's what the fans want. They just want a organic ending to the Snyderverse. Like, I'm sorry, Aquaman or Flash gave no satisfying ending to what Zack brought in. My idea was bring Zack back, tell him you're doing a Kingdom Come movie. That way, the actors being old means nothing because that's the Kingdom Come. Then what you do, you adapt Kingdom Come as on the page until the end. Instead of the government launching a nuke, Darkseid invades then, and then you get the world becomes a Justice League. So you essentially combine Zack's Justice League Part 3 with Kingdom Come, and then you end the universe that way. Plus, then we would get Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot together, and we all want that. So there you go. That's good. So that's the way I would have ended that, because then you give a satisfying ending to everything, and then there you go. You just move on, do whatever you want. But WB had to WB, and I'm going to play this clip one more time because I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that's it. That is literally that's the plan that we could have had if WB had not been so obsessed with catching up with Marvel. Because again, Zack wanted to give each Justice League member a movie before Justice League, but WB said, no, we want Justice League now. Where was that from? Oh, the clip about Zack? That was from the Stephen Colbert show when he went on there to promote the Snyder Cut. Yeah, that's the way that works. That's partly why I wanted to do this Q&A, because there's a lot of misinformation concerning Snyder's movies, and I really want my channel to be a source of information, not disinformation. Jared, who did they swap out Deadshot with in ZSJ? No, I'm pretty sure it was Deadshot in ZSJL 2. Yeah, it was Deadshot. Oh, yeah, you mean in the Snyder Cut, it was Deathstroke. Actually, if Cyborg got a movie, would have been done well. Yeah, exactly. Cyborg was going to get a movie as well. And if they had come up with the plan, DC could have had the first black superhero movie because Cyborg would have come out before Black Panther. There you go. Zack ain't going to get money to do nothing. Well, he would have. And the thing about Zack is that he knows how to make a relatively low-budget movie look really good because he understands lighting and painting. Because if you can light something right, you can hide a lot of CGI imperfections. It's kind of the way that works. I hope the DCU and Gunn truly respect Wonder Woman character-wise and power-wise. I really, yep. See, here's the thing. It's not looking good based upon how he portrayed Cersei. Because he wanted his brother's OC to fight Cersei to beat the main villain, and I go, well, that's stupid. Like, I'm sorry, Cersei should have been the main villain. Cersei should have kicked the Commandos' ass that first fight, and then they have to build up and fight her again and like team up. That would have been good, but they had to go too far on. No, my OCs have to defeat her in battle. Jared, do you have the original slate picture? Oh, yeah, I do. I'll pull that up. So this was the original DCEU like movie slate that we were supposed to get. All right, hang on. Let me pull that up. This was the original slate of movies we were supposed to get. So we have Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League Part 1, the small-scale Flash movie, Aquaman, untitled DC movie. We would have still gotten Shazam. That's why I include Shazam in my DCEU, because it was still part of the original plans. You get Justice League 2. The sad part is that, guess what? By 2021, we would have been done with the DCEU, and then they could have moved on anyway had they not sabotaged Justice League. Like, that's the baffling part. Because think about it this way. WB used the self-ending of Snyder's daughter as an excuse to get rid of him. Yes, that's what they did. And that is gross. And you wonder why I have little to no respect for Warner Brothers. This is why. Because the amount of stuff that they have screwed up and then blamed on Zack, because they said when Justice League came out and they were like, oh, I guess people just don't want Zack's vision. They blamed the Justice League movie failing on Zack. And that's a good template. I wonder what the two unannounced films were. I know one of them was actually a Nightwing movie. And you may be wondering, Jared, I thought you don't like when D-list characters get movies. Well, first off, and Nightwing's not exactly D-list, but they would have built up enough like cachet with like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman movies where they could have gone, okay, now we can take a risk on like Nightwing or any of these other movies. Like, let me put it this way: say what you want about the DCEU, Wonder Woman got a movie like as practically as soon as they were there. Yes, the Nightwing movie. There would have been a Nightwing movie. Wonder Woman got a movie relatively soon in the SnyderVerse, and we still don't have any information on it in the DCU. So say what you want about the DCEU, but so far Zack Snyder has shown more respect for Wonder Woman than James Gunn has. I'm just going to be clear on that. That's just my opinion in terms of like those characters. In terms of particularly Wonder Woman, so far Gunn has yet to show the Wonder Woman world any respect. What else you guys got? What other questions do you guys have to entertain me with? How Bloodhaven looks like also what villains? I imagine Bloodhaven's like a worse Gotham because that's kind of what it is. And then you could have like Blockbuster. There's Nick from the Phoenix Press is probably a better like thing. Well, actually, there's also Deathstroke. So there you go. Actually, the third movie of 2018 could have been Man of Steel 2. Yeah, I think it would have been that. And then the Batman movie would have been Batman. So Deathstroke essentially finds out who Batman is because apparently Batman led to the death of Slade's son, apparently. Oh, there would have been a Deathstroke movie, a Deathstroke origin movie with Joe Manganiello as Slade. Yes, that was confirmed that's what one of those movies was. So Slade goes after Batman and frees all the villains in Arkham Asylum, and then Batman has to fight through the different floors of Arkham Asylum against all of his rogues, and then he has to fight Deathstroke. So that's what that would have been. And let's see, what else do we have? So yeah, a Deathstroke movie, which I think would have been dope as hell, like a grounded military-esque story with Slade Wilson. Yes. And then let's see what other movies were we supposed to have? So Flash was supposed to be okay. So with Flash, it was going to be a Flash and Cyborg going up against the Rogues, and then it would have been like revealed, like they would have flashed back to like Barry's mother being killed, and then Barry would have said, "I remember seeing red lightning around there." So it would have been like it was the Reverse Flash that killed Barry's mom. Grant Morrison, most likely his death was what motivated Slade into going against the Teen Titans Jewish contract. So that's what fit in there. Yeah, exactly. Cersei should have been shouldn't have been the crap show to begin with. Yeah, I know she shouldn't have been. Remember? Yeah. Manganiello was in talks for a Slade Wilson series as well. Yes, I am a fan of Transformers and G.I. Joe. I very much am. But yeah, there's like a lot that we were supposed to get with, in my mind, the best castings for these characters in a long time. Yeah, and there was going to be a Gotham City Sirens movie. And also in this universe, apparently what happened is that Catwoman and Batman did get married, so screw you, Tom King. And then what would have happened was, and then it would have been revealed that they like got a divorce because Jason Todd or Dick Grayson, whichever one, died, and then Batman got all dark, so Selina left him. And then I always think that like the Batfleck movie could have been him also trying to earn back the Bat family, like being with the league showed him that he needed a team. There's like a lot that you could go with that. But then again, WB had to WB and screw it up. Again, that's one of the many reasons why I do not trust W. That's my main concern when it comes to that, because I'm like, no, I'm not going to the DCU because I don't trust WB to actually fulfill it. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And by the way, Somar, I want a Wonder Woman game. That's what I'm going to tell you that right there. But what else do you guys got for questions? Could have been either or, since none of Snyder's movies specifically named or confirmed. Well, it did, but they could easily edit that out. NJ, do you prefer Wonder Woman won't be used in at all in the DCU if Gunn wants to crap on her character in all aspects? Are you ready? Honestly, if Gunn is going to destroy her character and make her like less than the other DC characters, yeah, I'd rather him not use her. But I know he's going to, so it's like, okay. But I just hope he doesn't have involvement with the Wonder Woman projects, because that's going to not turn out well, like, at all. But I don't know. I got to see more of that. I want to see more on like the Paradise Lost series, because if that like actually comes true and it's really good, that's one thing. Again, it could be fun. It's just, again, it's like a lot of this I just really do not trust WB. It's not even James Gunn. I just don't trust WB to do this properly. Robin that died was Zach has said it's Dick Grayson, and there's like a tombstone off, like it's on screen, but it's like kind of blurry-ish, that says Dick Grayson. But you could always just redo that in post, or just say that was Jason Todd. So it's not necessarily like that's like set in stone that it's Dick Grayson. Real fast, DC Studios is made for PR. Yeah, WB calling the shots. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Ultimately, I'm like, okay, let's see what happens with this. But I don't necessarily have like full on like, oh, this is going to be so good, because I do not want to. I definitely do not want to be disappointed. He will be involved when she is eventually in the Justice League film. I just pray he respects her there. Yeah, I really hope so. Which my prediction is that it won't necessarily get to that point, because I don't see the Justice League. I don't see Superman making the amount of money to like last that long. That's just me. No, Jared, that Graves. Yes, it was shown in the movies. It was shown in the movies when he's walking away, I believe. It was definitely shown in the movies. Did you hear about how much of 2025 has made for? Yeah, so let's talk about that. So with that, so the budget according to the Wrap is $225 million. So that's something. And that's the same budget of Man of Steel. That means to break even, it has to make about over $500 million, which it can do. The thing is, it also says that to be considered an overwhelming success, it has to make above $700 million. And I'm like, that's where I think there's an issue there. That's where I think it's like, that's where I think there's a concern, because again, can it make over 500 million? Sure, Man of Steel did. And I've always said, I think that this movie is going to make up to or less than Man of Steel. That's my prediction, which we'll see what happens with that. But it's like 700 million. It would be one thing if it was a Batman movie, but it's not a Batman movie. So I'm like, But that's kind of like, That's kind of my thinking on it. I could be wrong, and it could really surprise me. If it does, fantastic. I would love to have a good Superman movie. Besides Man of Steel, obviously. It's like I would love for DC to be a healthy, profitable brand for WB, because that means we get more projects. Like we could get a continuation. We could get a lot of Wonder Woman projects. But if this movie fails or it's not considered a success, we're not gonna, like, let me put it this way. Let's say this movie makes like over 500 million, but like less than like, let's say it makes less than Man of Steel, but over 500 million. Like they just break even. I think a lot of those D-list characters like Clayface and all that stuff, I think that's gonna get canceled. I think that like Booster Gold, a lot of those D-list characters that like arguably should never have gotten solo projects are gonna get canceled, and WB is gonna be much more hands-on with the movie universe than Gunn originally thought they would be. What else you got? Y'all know, as Zack Snyder and his wife do show up, do cameos in the movies, which I like. It's really interesting. All right, so Pika, I think you might be right. It could be that like it is just a behind the scenes thing, but and it's like if it's never explicitly said, yeah, they could just say. I mean, even though it is the Dick Grayson Robin suit for the most part, so I'm like they could just. Either way, it's like they could like this way. The point is they could easily just say it's Jason Todd, and then maybe in Batman 2, let's say have it be under the Red Hood. They could easily do that. There's any number of ways they could do that. What else you guys got for questions? I'll do a couple more. Absolute Wonder Woman made to the top 3. Batman. Yes. Or it's ranked. Yeah, let's check if the rankings came out yet, because that's actually an interesting thing to think about. That was, I think it was AIPT did that. Top 50 comic books in May 2025. Well, let me see if that list is out yet. There's March 2025. Yeah, May hasn't come out yet. Normally what happens is it normally comes out like maybe around the 7th of like each month is when that comes out, like at the end of the first week of the new month. So by next week, we'll definitely know. And my prediction, at best, I think it's let me put it this way. At best, I think it's going to stay where it is. At worst, or best for us, it's going to tank. It's any one of those. I can't imagine it going any higher, because that book did piss people off with like all the Bat worship and stuff and all the Steve worship again. So we'll see. I anticipated part 1 and 2 would probably be a little higher because of Batman's inclusion. So, but what I want to see is like when we get to like Mouse Man at the end of this month, because that's what this one is, how those ones sell, because then you don't have a character that people care about to like, you don't have a draw besides Wonder Woman for people to already hop on a controversial run on a controversial as hail writer. So we'll see what happens with that one. But it's going to be interesting to track this. And again, I've said 2 to 3 like issues have to go down, like severely go down, for DC to consider taking action against it. That's what I have to say. I noticed something about the DC phase. It's also not overstuffed with characters in various sequels, and I think that's what would have made it work. Yeah, exactly. It's not like cramming all this crap in. It's just like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and it's all leading to this one story. If something does remarkably well, I'm sure they would do a sequel, but still. Yeah, it wasn't going to be too much like homework. In fact, I think the Green Lantern series would have been like a like buddy cop series. In fact, what's kind of funny, most of the projects that Gunn is greenlit are literally just holdovers from the previous regime. That's what it is. It's not like he had like a list of things he wanted to do and all these were on it. No, it's not that. This is all just that type of stuff. That's what I'm going to say right there. Yeah, so it wasn't going to be like the MCU. And the problem is, WB wanted it to be like the MCU. And I got news for you that is dumb as hell. That is stupid as all hell, because DC is not Marvel. Anyone thinking that is wrong. Just wrong. What are some more questions do you guys have for me about this? What other cues do you have about DCEU? All that, and then we can get going. DC forgot most characters are known because of their animated projects. Yeah, a lot of them are known because of like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which in some ways is scary because then people think that Wonder Bat has been a thing forever where it objectively hasn't. What other things do you guys have to say? What questions do you guys have? Because then we are going to rock off, and I will hopefully see you guys at a future stream. So just get your final questions, comments in the chat, and then we'll roll out. The best thing that can be said about those DC about those animated DC movies is that at the very least they were helping people work on the same point. No, and they were also helping people get into the characters, Pika. So let's not forget about that. Just because they weren't directly like 100% accurate to the comics doesn't mean that they didn't have value for the viewer. So that's what I'm going to like say there. That's what I'm gonna go off of that. Dude, I'm telling you, if you pull up YouTube and watch Revolt of World War, I'm not pulling that up. I'm not pulling that up. What are your thoughts on the Superman suit popcorn bucket reveal? I don't know. It's like, okay. It's not necessarily it's something that I'm like really into, but okay, don't worry. I'm not gonna watch it, Somar. I'm not watching it. Oh, if you mean the underwear thing, that's not. I don't think that's real. I don't think even James Gunn would be that stupid to use that as the popcorn reveal, as a popcorn bucket. Well, that introduction going to movies is a double-edged sword. There is good in them, but also certain flaws. Yeah, I know. Oh, like oh, you mean the suit S thing? Yeah, that works, and I mean that's cool. I mean, it could be worse. Man, we desperately need the revival of Sensation Comics. It's needed for lore to be. Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what I think would be very interesting, and what we could really use, because if Wonder Woman's a member of the Trinity, she should have a Detective Comics reveal. That's really it. That's what I'm going to tell you, that they should give Wonder Woman more stuff, because again, if you're going to justifiably tell me she is a member of the Trinity and she is like a pillar of DC, you got to show me that, because DC really doesn't show that like at all. I don't know what that means for us, more than has been given, and not terribly designed action figures either. I don't know what that means. To be, if you want to clarify that. But let's get some final questions in there, and quick questions, comments, and then I'll wrap up the stream. Then, in terms of Wonder Woman Wednesday, which is tomorrow, and if you become a member, you get that. You're going to have that video by tonight. I'm going to be detailing Diana's Olympian family, like on the like all the gods that I think hold significant relationships, or like by relationships I mean like platonic, with Diana, like Zeus, Hera, and the roles that they play in her stories, these significant roles. And then I will be way back when the first DC figure looked out, Wonder Woman looked like crap, while the Black Canary actually makes the same lines. Amazing. Yeah, exactly. What's next stream? All right. So next stream is Under Two Capes. It should be 6 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. And I'm trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. We'll probably refute Wonderbat on that. Wait, Cersei, Giganta, Veronica Kill, guaranteed money makers when they show up. Yeah, exactly. They should. Do you think he will make Mouse Man interesting? Let's see. I don't think so. King has yet to make a villain beyond that, like, serious. Mouseman should really be given build up more. Yeah, exactly. If Gunn's smart, he will replace Paradise Lost with a Wonder Woman solo movie. I think I think honestly that is where he's going to go with this. I don't think Paradise Lost is going to happen. I feel like they're using those like Hang on, I'm just typing up something. I feel like a lot of those projects that were announced in the first thing is are like placeholders. So they took the like Hamada era DC stuff and then just loaded that up. So that's what I think it's going for. We need the clay origin and the gods to showcase in the film. Yes, yes, agreed, agreed. I think that if they tell it right, you can do the clay origin and like explain that pretty simply. And I think that's gonna be not really a problem. And the gods do have to play a part in a Wonder Woman movie. Like that was my problem, right? That was not a Zack Snyder thing. That was a Patty Jenkins thing, I believe, with the gods being killed. So you need the gods to play a role in Wonder Woman's life. Like, imagine the story potential you leave when you don't have the gods. I mean, despite my absolute dislikeness for most of his run, if he somehow makes Mouseman interesting, I'm on board. What if he makes Mouseman interesting, but then continues to dunk on Diana and make her Steve obsessed? That's the thing, NJ. The gods in the DCU are definitely gonna be all Disney animals. Yeah, I know. That's so stupid. I hate that. He says, I don't mind the male gods in the films. The goddesses are simply the more sacred. Yeah, exactly. Because it's sort of like, I think, Hermes. The goddesses are the ones that give Diana her powers. So you kind of need that in there. So I agree with you on that. They should be like the focus, maybe, like mention them and then just go with that. But that's kind of what I think. So I think that's a good place to leave it. It's a good stream. I hope I gave you guys some good information about Snyder's Wonder Woman. So again, way it's going to work. So if you guys would like to, so Wonder Woman Wednesday is tomorrow, and I'm going to be releasing a video at 5 p.m. Eastern time where I talk about Diana and the Olympians and her family and stuff. And then if you would like to see that video tonight, consider becoming a member, because the members get that content the day before. I think they will definitely go with the clay origin, considering Historia was so popular. Yeah, I think so. And Under Two Caves is probably going to be about why Wonder Bat does not work. And movie night is going to be the Watchmen animated movies. And then Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be comparing Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship to that of Nightwing and Starfire. So we're going to be doing that. And let's see what else. And obviously Comics League Dark and such is going to be like on there at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's new time. We're going to be summarizing a lot of the geek news. The way the guys are depicting historic and absolute Wonder Woman. Thank you for being such a Wonder Woman person. Anytime. I love Wonder Woman, and she deserves much more, but I can give her as much attention as I can and devote as much content on her as I can. I will keep doing that. I am 100% like devoted to making sure that disinformation about Wonder Woman is squashed swiftly and providing Wonder Woman the attention, because there is practically no channel solely devoted to Wonder Woman. And I go, no, you can't not do that. Me too. Such a spiritual connection. Me in all honesty, yeah, I feel the same way. So there you go. So that's what we're gonna be. That's the Comics League content that we have coming out. Steve Never. He belongs 6 feet to 24 feet in the ground. Zois and Max about for life. I will see you later. This is Amazon answers. We will see you next Sunday at the same time. See you guys later.